Lisa Whelchel, of course, an icon of the 80s, facts of life, and now can be seen on Collector's Call, plus the new sci fi film, Roswell Delirium, with an 80s twist. Lisa, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Anthony Michael Hall had said that this movie, he cast it in one day. Tell me a
Oh,
little bit about the process of getting that call and being part of this film.
how funny. I didn't know that. I love knowing that. Yeah, they reached out to my agent and he sent it to me you know, as I was reading the script, of course I loved anything going back to the 80s. It was a wonderful time in my life. But I just found the script very intriguing, especially for the kind of the psychological aspect of it. My husband's a psychologist, so of course, that's fascinating to me. And then it really got me at the end with the twist.
With the twist that we see. Miss Pelzer, let's talk a little bit about the role of the teacher that you have in this movie.
Yeah, my kids are grown. I have grandkids, but and I homeschooled my kids, and so I love teaching. I love children. I love conveying information, but also connecting with the hearts and curiosity. And so this was, I mean, I didn't even have to act.
That was right up your alley.
It
When you
was.
mentioned the 80s, I really think it was a turning point with Stranger Things. Because obviously, that was a point where I grew up in the 80s. That's my time, that's my nostalgia. But seeing a new generation fall in love with the music, with the fashion, with the shows of that time. I mean, I really feel like there was a kind of a shift in people's interest in that time period. I mean, talk a little bit about, this film and kind of from your lens, how the 80s have just are just as loved not at the 80s as they are now.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is because the 80s, it's just very specific. It's not like when you see the 80s, oh, that's the 80s. You don't think, was that like, hey, what era was that? I mean, you just know right off the bat, whether it's the colors or whether it's the hairdos or the clothes, you just know it's the 80s. There was something that was almost a golden age. Things have gotten more intense, as the years have gone by. But also there was just a kitschiness to it that I
Yeah.
think is fun.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's like even the music. Before it used to be the music I listened to in the car. Now it's the music I like work out to or clean the house to. Like it brings me so much comfort.
It's great music. I know it. I know I'm trying to convince. I have a 13-year-old stepson, and I'm trying to convince him it's great music, but he's yet to buy into it. Maybe he just needs to get a little older.
He gets a little older, yeah. And I feel like high school, that teenage areas, they'll wear like the t-shirts from certain bands, or maybe get interested in that way too. So give him a couple of years. I think he'll
I
get into
think
it.
so.
um, Facts of life. One of the things too, which I always find so fascinating is, especially those of us who grew up in the 80s and watched, these shows, is seeing George Clooney maybe for the first time on screen
Hmm.
and you getting to work with him. Especially, now he was nominated for a Tony recently. I mean, just like how he's become this big star, but he got his, really started on, 80s sitcoms.
Yeah, yeah. And I tell you what, he has grown into himself. He was gorgeous and fun and a great comedic actor back then. But man, has that boy aged well. I mean, his acting, his presence, his impact in the world, his looks, everything has just gotten exponentially better with age.
Last time you saw him?
Last time I saw him was in a mall. I know that my kids were still at home because I remember showing him pictures of my kids, and I haven't seen him since.
Well, you got to go back to that mall. Maybe he'll, you guys are cross
Yeah.
paths, sometime again. Fans can see you now on Collector's Call, which is such a cool show. Because I think you really get to see what nostalgia, what these certain shows, what these certain characters, what these certain collections mean to people. And other people just kind of getting a look. It's like, I never had this, or I wish I had this, or a whole room dedicated to this. I mean, talk a little bit about being a part of that show, and getting to connect with all those fans.
Yeah, I think that there's something a little bit about how you started this conversation, with the 80s and why Roswell Delirium is really hitting the sweet spot. I do think that we are in times that we can just sense the tension and we're longing to be back to maybe a simpler time of life, and all of the collections, every single collector, they're collecting because they're trying to hold on to something from their childhood, whether it's a feeling or a relationship or a memory. And I think that's growing as the years go by. And so I think it's on MeTV, which I just found out only a couple of years ago. It's crazy because we're in our sixth season, that MeTV is memorable entertainment television. And I think that that's why nostalgia is so popular, because it really does bring us back to a time where our whole nervous system just kind of, downshifts a bit.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we also got to mention, the headquarters, for the show and for the station are right here in Chicago. So you get to spend a little bit of time here in our city.
I have been to Chicago a number of times a year for the last 6 years, and hope to keep doing that for a few more years.
And obviously, it's a lot of work that goes into it. But restaurants, things, shopping, anything you like to do when you
Oh,
have a
yeah.
little bit off time or before or after?
Yes, I always stay at the same place. And my husband and I, it's a Mediterranean restaurant, incredible hummus. I mean, it's just, they've got a bar top, kind of a seating area. And it's in that whole area where they've got free people and anthropology. They've got some pickleball courts. So I don't even have to have a car. When I finish filming, I just walk around, find some place to eat, find some place to shop. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect place downtown, and that's one of my favorite restaurants as well too. The food is so fresh, and it's just like you feel so good at eating at it, and you feel like you're in Europe.
Well, and they say a Mediterranean diet's the best diet there is, so you can eat it guilt-free.
Oh, exactly, 100. You've talked about being a mom and a grandma, and in Haven's podcast, I work a little bit in the space of parenthood, and an advocate for so many different topics, especially engaging conversations, and I'm just so proud of like the conversations that she's having, and you being a part of that as well too. I mean, talk a little bit about what she's doing, and maybe when she told you, I want to start this podcast, what were those conversations like for you?
Well, first of all, you're my new favorite interviewer because, the way to any mom's heart is through her kids. So the fact that you recognize the brilliance of my daughter
Yeah,
is wonderful. Yeah, it really did organically grow out of the fact that she just has a lot of wisdom and a lot of empathy and a lot of curiosity. And so she has all of these women of all ages that were wanting to have lunch with her and coffee with her, which she loved. But then she had two kids and she just didn't have the time. And
yeah,
so she just thought, you know what? I guess I could film a little podcast as a conversation, and then it kind of exponentially more conversations because she just didn't have the time to do the one-on-one anymore. She
yeah.
just has that innate ability to be curious and wise and non-judgmental all at the same time.
And it's a hard thing too. I'm a parent of a toddler. These are the conversations that that we have all the time, and being supportive of other people. And we always tell people when there was a new baby, and I think that was one of the most impactful episodes of like, go, the person who just had the baby also needs attention too. Obviously, the newborn baby, everyone wants to, but like having those important conversations of making sure that the mom's health is also taken care of, and that people are looking out after her. And I think that was just so powerful.
I learned so much from her. I really
Yeah,
do. And it makes me think, man, I wish I could have my kids all over again, because the resources now for parents and with the internet and just even the clips from social media,
yeah,
they just go deeper. Yeah, USA Today just did a feature on Haven and her podcast because of a clip that went viral about the mental load that typically moms carry more of the mental load. And I hadn't even heard of that term, but as soon as I saw that clip, it was just like, yes, you're naming it. It was really just to have it named was wonderful.
yeah. Just to have that too. And moms and dads, and grandparents and everybody who carries that mental load, because it's a lot, and just to recognize it and to have those conversations. And obviously, a lot of people have a lot of feelings, going into it, but to be able to bring that conversation, I just love what you instilled in her to be able to bring this to the masses. So I
Well,
love
and
that.
thankfully her skin is thicker than mine because there are a lot of strong feelings about parenting, and she just puts it out there with like, hey, this is what I'm learning. I'm open to conversation about it, but the internet's a rough place to
Yeah.
be, and she handles it much better than I think I would.
And one more question before we wrap up, as far as nostalgia goes, and this, in the '80s, obviously with Roswell Delirium and that having that twist, when these shows were out, and even through the '90s, there wasn't social media, there wasn't the internet, there wasn't these things to have like a collective. I mean, obviously there was like fan conventions and things like that, but just really how, like, when did you notice a turning point where people wanted to know about a Facts of Life reunion, where people wanted to have you, talk about that decade? I mean, talk a little bit about when you really noticed, like, ooh, it's not just like it's time and place, like this is going to live on forever.
Well, the interesting thing is there's really never been a time when Facts of Life has not been on the air.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was on and then it was in reruns. And then shortly after that, it was in syndication. And then it was on Nickelodeon. And then, of course, all the different streaming networks are looking for content. So it was on TV Land, then MeTV. And then I heard just this morning it's on Amazon Prime. So there really was never a time it wasn't on the air.
Yeah. I mean, especially too, even like recently, somewhat recently seeing you with Drew Barrymore and her getting the maroon vest, and I was tearing up watching it. Like, it was crazy that like that color you associate, with you and the show in the '80s in a certain time period, and then it just like it brings you back to a simpler time, like you had said.
Yes.
That is wonderful. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. Roswell Delirium, Prime Video, Apple TV. Go ahead and stream it. It's a wonderful film with a lot of fun cameos. Anthony Michael Hall, Reginald Van from Family Matters is also in the film too, as well too, especially, and a lot of young talent as well too.
Dean
So
Wallace is in it from E.T. Just an
yeah,
incredible performance. So, and then the kids are amazing as well.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.